Okay, welcome. Sorry, I had some trouble getting into the getting into Crowdcast today. It seems to be a problem with Google Chrome. So I'm in, and we're about ready to start. So sorry to keep you waiting, and let's begin. Let's get things started. Welcome to Virtual Influence. Let's just get the PowerPoint on. Hopefully you can see the PowerPoint nice and clearly. If you can, let me know that you can see that. Actually, that's not what I want. Okay, tell me if you can see the PowerPoint, please. That would be great. Okay, you can see my screen. That's one of the most important things. I'm getting absolutely getting one of those infinity mirror things here. This is all because Crowdcast wouldn't let me sign in on Google Chrome, so I apologize for that. I'm trying to get out of presenter view. Sorry, guys. I love technical issues, don't you? Here we go. Okay, you can see the window, so we're going to go forward. Welcome to welcome to Virtual Influence. In conjunction with global business owners, let's get things started today. My name is John Ball. Lots of people call me Johnny. Just to tell you a little bit about me. So I am a business and wealth coach. I've been doing that for over 12 years now. Once upon a time, I was a cute little kid. You can hopefully see that in the on the screen here. And also, one of these things in my introduction is a lie. So see if you can figure out which one it is. I'm an award-winning public speaker, a founder of Present Influence, and this is my operating name for my coaching and teaching presentation for teaching presentation and influence skills to business owners and small to medium enterprises. I am the host and creator of the Low Key podcast, which is a podcast for interviews and discussions about professional presentation needs and understanding, influence, and persuasion. I am also a black belt in ninjutsu, an international fitness model, and the vice president of Toastmasters, vice president of education for Toastmasters in Valencia, and president of the Valencia GVO chapter for global business owners. So let's have a think about how we're going to get the most out of this presentation today. Now, this could be one of the most boring presentations that you've ever watched or listened to me talking to myself, or we can have some fun. And in order to have some fun, that's going to require you engaging at the moment. So the best way for you to do that is going to be in the chat box. So if I ask you to type into the chat box, let's hopefully see some activity from you. Another way to engage is going to be to laugh at my jokes. That's optional, but since I can't hear you anyway, I'm going to make the assumption that you are. Be open to learning new things as well, and maybe even relearning things that you may have heard before. Maybe you can learn or relearn them on a new and different level. Most importantly, be here for you. Cal Newport, the professor and the author of the book Deep Work, says that the most important skills for the new business world are going to be the ability to learn and implement new information quickly, and the ability to practice new deep levels of focus. So practice your ability to focus by being on this webinar and not checking your email, not checking your WhatsApp or social media, but actually being here and being focused. I'm sure you would hope the same for anyone attending one of your presentations. And take notes. Bill Gates is attributed as saying that if you're not taking notes, you're not really paying attention, you're not really learning. And let's play. Let's have some fun with this as well. So we're going to enjoy the experience rather than make it a painful one for ourselves. Make jokes. Let's keep things fun. Let's keep things respectful and supportive. And being stuck at home for days on end can send you a little bit crazy, right? So rather than going crazy, what have I just done? Rather than going crazy, let's be focused and let's be engaged here as well, so that we can just actually stay sane, keep our sanity, and have some fun and learning today on this webinar. Now you're already pushing yourself on a path of improvement here. It's essential, and this is something from the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius and Viktor Frankl that they both agree on, that one thing you do have control of whilst everything is crazy around you is your inner world, your mind. So let's focus on being in control of that. And by being here today and by improving your learning, that's absolutely what you're doing. And I salute you for that. So let's get into things. This is what most people's faces look like. This is what most people's faces look like when they talk about being asked to give a public presentation or being asked to give a speech. Most people have a look of fear upon them. But it doesn't have to be that way. And that's one of the things I want to get clear about here on this webinar, is that the fear doesn't have to control you. The fear does not need to be something that is ruining the webinar for you, or ruining your life because you can't speak or present. I'm seeing things in a very strange order here. Right, you are seeing the webinar. Okay, we'll go with that. So so don't worry. We're going to work on some things that help you going to overcome your fear and to get you more focused and feeling more energized and ready to present in whatever format. So there are many different ways that you might be presenting, and we're going to work on having confidence in all of those. The three key things are going to be confidence, clarity, and charisma that you want to have when you are presenting in any format, especially in the virtual world. Many of us are going to find us in new situations. These two people aren't practicing any social distancing, unfortunately, but we sometimes find ourselves in informal meetings. Sometimes we are in networking situations. Sometimes we are in front of an audience, and more often than not now, we are in a virtual environment. And whichever environment we're in, we want to be doing our very best to be able to deliver ourselves, present ourselves as confidently and with as much assurance as possible. And sometimes that just means going for it, and there are things we can do to help us improve our confidence and our presentation ability. So we're going to go through them, take notes, and if by the end of the presentation you think you'd like to have a copy of the slideshow, or you'd like to know where you can go for more information, is that okay if I share that with you at the end of the presentation? Okay, good job. So let me ask you, how conscious are you of your physical movements when you're doing any kind of presentation? Very often, even in the video world, you'll see people doing the things they tell you not to do with COVID-19, of touching your face and scratching your eyes, itching your head, things that are often unconscious movements that we don't really pay full conscious attention to. Are you controlling your own movements? When you are doing a full-on public presentation, then it's even more noticeable if you are rocking back and forth. You can't stand still in one spot. Your hands keep moving or shaking. One of the best things to do is to stop all movement when you're presenting. Practice just by stopping everything so that you are not making any unconscious movements. For video and for online presenting, practice videoing yourself doing a talk or a presentation so you can see if you are doing any of those things without realizing it. Now, very often when you highlight the idea of touching your face or scratching an itch, it's the thing that makes you want to do those things as well. So you really must exercise a bit of self-restraint in this. And the best thing to do is stop the movement initially so that when you do start moving, you can move with volition so that you know what you're doing and your movements make sense. Your voice is going to be critical as well, especially in the online environment. There are not too many ways in which you can influence and persuade people in the online world, but your voice is going to be one of them. And very often people use a very questioning tonality sometimes, at times when they are actually trying to convey information to other people. And so there's a difference between questioning tonality and what we call command tonality. Let me explain it for you now. A questioning tonality is something that goes up at the end, so you sounds like you've asked a question. Command tonality goes down at the end, so it's very much finished sentence and it is more like an instruction. Do you get the difference between those two things? Conversational falls somewhere in the middle of those two things. But you'll often hear, especially people from Australia, ending their sentences going very high up because everything sounds like a question very often. Whereas when you are giving any kind of presentation and you want to come across with gravitas, you must have some command tonality so that your tone goes down at the end of a sentence. So what is it you actually want to project when you are online? Well, very often what we want to project isn't actually what ends up coming across, and there can be a big difference between the two, and we don't want to end up being this guy. So it's important that we take some control over our image and about how we come across, because we don't always know which version of us is going to be coming over at any one time. It's going to be very important then to make sure that you are connected into the idea of the image that you want to present, and to start checking in as to whether you are actually conveying that image. Ask some people who you trust. Ask some people who you can get feedback from in order to be able to do this, and so that you get that loop coming back and you know what is actually coming across and if it is what you want to be. So that's going to have to come a bit from yourself. You can watch yourself back to a degree, but you are ideally going to need feedback from other people. One of the best ways I recommend to help you get that is to go to some kind of public speaking practice meeting, such as Toastmasters International, where you can practice your speaking at the moment virtually in front of other people. But when things are over with this crisis, you'll be able to do that in a much more personal way, and you will get direct feedback on your presentation, and people will be able to tell you exactly how you're coming across to them. That's the kind of feedback you need. Otherwise, for now, you just have to make a very clear intention for yourself as to how you want to come across and the image that you want to project for yourself. What you say to yourself is going to be really important here as well, and it is key for confidence. What's the first thing very often that you say to yourself when somebody tells you or you think about giving a presentation or doing any kind of public speaking or presentation work? It is usually the fear that we talked about before. It's going to be essential to reframe that. And one way you can do that, you will find that the pumping heart, the palpitations, and the tingly skin sometimes, and the feeling of maybe even a slight trembling nervousness is very similar to the feelings of being really excited. And a simple trick in your mind can be just to twist that around and reframe it and tell yourself you're not nervous, you're just excited. Would that be okay? Does it sound silly and even too simple? I'll tell you this, for myself and for many people who have gone into professional public speaking, often hear that this is one of the reframes, one of the things that makes the biggest difference in being able to deliver well and feel more confident on the stage. Now, one thing that you will come across is that you want to project confidence for yourself as well. So you don't just want to project it out to people; you want to feel that for yourself, and so your posture is going to be critical as well. You want to make sure you have a really good posture. Interestingly enough, studies have shown that actually adopting this sort of superhero posture that you can see on the screen now, with the hands on the hips and the legs slightly wider apart, actually makes a difference to your level of confidence. And in the book by Amy Cuddy, Amy Cuddy is a professional public speaker and a researcher, and she has done research into this as well. She's been teaching this power pose for years, and the scientific data also backs up her suggestion. Then even just imagining yourself in a power pose, standing in a power pose for 30 to 60 seconds can be enough to improve your level of confidence massively. So I'd like to get a sense from you now as to what did you get here? What did you learn? What can you use from this information? I'm going to see if I can switch out of the PowerPoint so I can come and check in with you. I am Superwoman. Great. Fantastic. Do you know how to get this into full screen? Because I can try. Absolutely. Even though I've used Crowdcast before, it's not as easy as it seems. But I'm going to bring back the. Okay, so I'm hoping that you are seeing what I want you to see here, but I just need to. I can't see the two screens at the same time. I love Crowdcast. Okay, so now we are going to move into the clarity part of this. And one important part with the clarity here is to make sure that you set an intention. That's going to be critical to your clarity. There are many different aspects to presenting and public speaking, and it can be a bit overwhelming. In fact, it's impossible to think of all of them at the same time. So you're really not going to be able to, but don't let it overwhelm you, because that would be the danger here, and certainly the last thing you want. So don't let it overwhelm you, and just take it one piece at a time and set your intention. So have a think about what your intention is for your presentation, whatever kind of presentation it's going to be. If it's a formal presentation, then you may want to be thinking about your outcome. You may want to be thinking about how you show up in terms of the presentation. You want intentions that you can actually check in with at the end. So it might just be that your intention might be just to communicate clearly, and then you can check in with that intention at the end and see how that is going for you. Have an outcome in mind, have mini objectives as well. We often have bigger goals in life. Hopefully you do have some bigger goals and things that you want to achieve. We don't always have the smaller goals. And so want to have those mini goals here as well. Let's get back into the PowerPoint. Not happy with this system at all. Not going to use it again. There we go, back to full screen mode. So you want to have an end result for your presentation, for your public speaking. It should be ideally what people are going to take away from it. What are you going to take away from the encounter? What are you going to take away from the interaction? What will other people be taking away from that as well? In terms of the information that you deliver, it's going to be best to avoid overload. You don't want to put too much information in. And that is one of the biggest mistakes that people make, is too much information at one time that people can't really keep track of and aren't really going to take away anything useful. You check in and ask them what they really got from your information, they might say, oh, well, there was kind of a lot there. So we want to keep things simply chunked. It's true that we can only really hold about 3 to 5 things in our mind at any one time with any level of ability. So anything more than that is going to start to really overload people. So keep things as simple as possible. If you have about 3 to 5 minutes to deliver a presentation, 2 key points delivered really well is going to be much more impactful than 20 points delivered in the time. So keep things as simple as possible. If you have maybe 15 minutes or 30 minutes, you might go for 3 to 5 points, but don't go over that because you start getting into things that people aren't really going to remember. If you're doing day-long or weekend conferences or multi-day events, then you can go much deeper into your information. We also want to make sure that we keep things as simple as possible for people. So try and keep your language simple. If you are using technical language to people who may not be familiar with the technical language, then try to simplify it or at least explain the terms as clearly as possible. And some people have a tendency to try and deliver all the information, or they just maybe like the sound of their own voice. Resist the temptation and keep things to the minimal amount of information that also allows it to be a friendly and warm interaction as well. So less really is more. So that's chunking down the amount of information, but also making sure you deliver it as simply as possible. In terms of professional presentation, if you are doing an online webinar or you're speaking in front of an audience, it's generally a good idea to make sure that you are aiming for a level of comprehension that would be understandable by a child between the ages of 8 to 12. So if your language and your what you want to say is more complicated than that, and it's not to a specifically qualified audience, then you need to work on some simplification. It's going to be important to leave some space as well. So these ducks are doing a bit of social distancing here, but we want a bit of social distancing sometimes between your words or between your concepts. Give people an opportunity to take some time to absorb what's being said. Give them a chance to have an internal conversation in their mind. People like myself have a tendency to want to speak rather fast and have to really work hard on slowing ourselves down. Some people have a tendency to talk very slow, which can be great for separating and keeping things on an understandable level, but can also become a bit dull at times. Just include some pauses, give a bit of distance, allow people time to think and time to respond in their heads or directly to you. And make sure that you are understood as well. There's a principle in neurolinguistic programming that the meaning of a communication is the response that you get. So check in with people that you are actually being understood. If it's video content, watch yourself back and get some external feedback as well. Is what you intended to impart what actually ended up coming across? If it is, great. If it isn't, then make some course corrections. But check in. If you are delivering information to a smaller group, you can just check in and say, what did you understand by that? And what did you take away from what I just said there? It can be very simple. So on that basis, what did you take away from that? What's your understanding from what was just said? Wishing I could get the chat up on a separate screen, but I'm going to do my best. Keep it simple. Yeah, absolutely. Do you like the infinity mirror that you get now when I put this on full screen? Okay, let's come back to the slideshow, huh? Okay, good job. So we now move into the third part here, which is charisma. And that's all about your internal energy really here. And that's how you're going to come across to other people. So we talked a bit about the image you want to project, but have you ever met the kind of person who just has really, really great energy? You really like them, they feel very warm, very bubbly, and you feel that they have a good energy that you want to be around, that it encourages you to want to spend time in their presence. In fact, when you leave time having spent with them, whether online or in person, you feel more energized by it. If you've ever encountered those kinds of people, they have really good charisma. And so it's not something that necessarily you are born with and you have or you don't have. It is something that can be worked on. So some people do have naturally great charisma, but if you don't panic. there are things you can do. And it starts with you. So it's essential for you to take responsibility for working on this and turning up your own energy. It's essential to manage your own emotional state, especially before going into a presentation situation. So we already talked about the superhero stance, and your posture is a really important part of this. In fact, just by sitting more upright or standing more upright, you are already likely to feel more positive than someone who is slumped over. In fact, you can try this with me now. If you slump over and hunch yourself up and just ask yourself, do I feel excited or emotionally lifted up like this? Do I feel energized like this? Probably not. Put your shoulders back, sit more upright, head straight, back straight, and ask yourself now, do I feel more energized and more active in this position? And you most likely will. So your posture does play a huge part. Generally, when we are wondering about how we feel or checking in with ourselves as to how we feel, we check in almost unconsciously. But if you check yourself in on this, you'll see that you do it. You check in with your body, you check in with how you feel physically. So changing your posture, changing your physicality will make a difference to how you check in with yourself and how you end up feeling. One of the most important things you can do then is make sure you put a smile on your face. For slapping a great big smile on your face might feel a bit fake at first, but it is generally going to make you feel better because your body does start taking those signals that it knows that usually when you're smiling, it's because you are happy. And so you are already triggering neurons and firing synapses that are telling yourself and your body that you are happy. So even just putting a smile on your face and adjusting your posture is going to make a big difference to your personal energy. There's more you can do as well. You can dance, you can add music, have your own theme song. My theme song that I like to play in my head or in my ear if I have time before doing any kind of presentation is, I should share this with you. It's Britney Spears, You Better Work, Bitch. And so I like to listen to that. It pumps me up, it energizes me, it makes me smile, it puts a smile on my face and makes me feel like I have a really good energy coming into any kind of presentation. So usually that's what will be running through my head before I go onto a stage, a platform, a webinar, a video, or anything to put myself in the mood. And if you want to dance around to your theme tune as well, you don't have to choose that song, but choose any song that you feel energizes you and makes you smile, pumps you up, gives you good energy. Make that your theme tune. So there's a lot that you can do, but more than anything, have fun with this stuff. It doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't have to be that you stay in fear for it. Just have fun with it. Now, going for engagement is going to be a critical part here as well. And sometimes we don't really know how people are responding unless we start to see them yawning or falling asleep. So there's a balance to strike with your energy of getting it right without being annoyingly over the top with your energy so that people get annoyed by you, or without going too slow or low with your energy where people are maybe going to tune out or perhaps even fall asleep completely. Try and keep it somewhere in the bounds of in the middle for most of the time, with some highs and some lows. Take the energy up when it's time to get a bit more excited, and take the energy down and slow it down, perhaps when you want to be more thoughtful or where it seems appropriate in your presentation. So these are great tools to be able to use, and it does require a level of being able to observe your audience and check in that you can't always go for with online presentations. So I can't see my audience now. I can't see any of you, but I know that doing an online presentation is down to me to take my energy up a bit higher, not massively high, but a bit higher than I would if we were just having a conversation, so that it is a bit more animated than I might otherwise be and a bit more engaged and turning that energy up, because that's what I want to help you do as well. So if think about it this way, think about the energy that you want your listener or your audience to be in. That's pretty much the energy you need to get yourself into to help lead them there. So it's a bit of what we call pace and lead. Get yourself into the energetic state that you would like your audience to be in to receive information from you, or receive a presentation from you, or spend some time with you. Now, we all have our own communication style. Some people like to talk really fast and deliver lots of information and not really give other people a chance to speak. Some people like to say very little and only really speak when they have something relevant to say and of impact or importance. And there's all sorts of levels in between as well. It's going to be important for you to be clear on your communication style and to learn a bit more about this. Are you a direct communicator? Do you actually say things directly and um, say exactly what you mean? Or are you an inferential communicator, someone who infers meaning that people can then understand and take their own meaning away from, or that you want them to get the point of what you're saying for themselves? These are good things to know about yourself, and critical things in terms of being able to deliver information and teach other people or share in any kind of leadership or presentation situation. So spend a bit of time learning more about communication styles and see if you can discover your own communication style. There are plenty of online tests that will allow you to do that and to get more of an insight. And certainly public speaking organizations and clubs will help you get more clarity around that as will presentation coaches. You also have your own leadership style. So we all have a way that we show up as leaders. Some leaders are very regimented, authoritarian. Some leaders are very playful. Some leaders are very serious all the time. Some leaders are very much supportive and empathic. And some of us have a mixture of all of these things, but you will have a key leadership style as well. And again, it's important to learn more about your own leadership style and to understand it and how you can use it and how you can adapt your leadership style to be relevant for particular situations. As much as you would with your communication style, you want to have the opportunity to be flexible about how you approach things and maybe even try out some different styles for different types of communication. So you will first of all learn your own leadership style and how to utilize that leadership style, as well as your communication style. And then you can start to play with some additional leadership and communication styles as well, so that you can adapt yourself and your presenting style to any kind of situation or audience if you need to. Now, interestingly, in my conversations with many, many successful people and leaders around the world in business and many other areas, one of the things that always comes across as being one of the most critical and valuable parts of leadership is empathy, is caring for the people who you work with and supporting people, and being a good leader by lifting other people up in your organization in the best ways that you can. So the best leaders become the biggest servants of greatest service to the people in their business. And that's something that is really important to come across in your charisma as well. You want people to really get that you care about them, that you empathize with them. And that means you have to take time to listen to them, listen to people, take time to connect with them, take time to put yourself in their position and associate with your audience or with the people you are connecting with as much as you can. You don't have to be exactly in their emotional state. If you are talking to someone who is deeply upset, it doesn't help them if you get deeply upset with them, but enough empathy to understand what's going on and to be able to relate yourself to it in some way and show that you care. And so any kind of presentation, I think anything that you do publicly, if you want to have a really good strong leadership quality and really strong charisma come through with that, show people you care, let your heart shine through with everything that you do. I think it's one of the critical elements of leadership. And speaker and author Brené Brown talks about having people be wholehearted in terms of people who feel very fulfilled in their own lives, and that they take a very balanced view of life, and they care for themselves and for each other, and that they demonstrate that. That's what we can call wholehearted. So be wholehearted in your interactions and in your presentations. It's going to serve you well, and it's really going to bring out show a strong charisma and character that people will be attracted to. It's very important as well to visualize the whole package. So we've talked about all sorts of different things that could potentially help you and get you to being a better presenter in whatever environments, especially in these virtual environments. Think about, visualize how you want to be showing up. Imagine watching yourself in a presentation and how you would want to see yourself. So you imagine the video of you, so you're not actually just watching the video back, but imagine yourself giving a perfect presentation, doing it absolutely as perfectly as you could, with all the charisma or the confidence or the clarity that you want to deliver there. Just picture it. Take a moment now. Close your eyes for a moment if you can. And imagine yourself giving a presentation, and you're giving it with incredible confidence. Your posture is great. Your superhero stance is strong. You know exactly what you want to say. You have a clear intention and outcome for your interactions and presentation. You're delivering the information in really manageable quantities, chunking it at a very understandable level and keeping it simple. You're leaving space for people to have an internal conversation in their head or to respond to you. You check in that you're understood. You manage your own energy and state, your stance, your theme tune, your posture, your smile. You have fun, and you engage on a level that has some variety to it, but also keeps you at a fairly constant level. So it's not irritatingly positive, and it's not boring. You have some variance of energy. And you learn more about you understand your communication and leadership style. You can see yourself on a platform or on a presentation delivering great leadership and great communication. I hope you saw yourself doing a really, really great job there as well. Please open your eyes if they were closed. So what can you take away from that? What can you learn from all these elements, especially the visualization there that you just did? Fantastic. Good. Excellent. So we take a check-in to make sure things have been understood. In online presentations, particularly like this, it's essential to take these moments just to find out, what did you learn? What did you like? What can you use from that? Thank you. Now, one thing that is going to be critical is that you don't just listen to what we talk about in a presentation like this, but you do something with it. And hopefully there's at least one thing that you've heard today that you can take with you and put into practice in your life. And if you just take one thing away from today and that you're going to practice and you're going to implement, then that's going to be time well spent. So decide now what that thing is going to be. Commit to doing something with it. When will you do it? When are you going to implement it? When are you going to try it out? Today? Put it into action right now? If you can, great, or decide when that will be. And you'll see that you will then succeed. So thank you. Thank you for tuning in. I hope there's been some good value. Sorry about some technical issues getting started. I know a few of you was getting some messages that there were some technical issues for other people as well. So it wasn't just me. But so I apologize for that. But thank you for joining us today. And I hope there's been some value for you as well. Now, I did say at the start that I would tell you where you could go to get a bit more information. at the end of this webinar. So as we are coming to the end, here's where you can go for a bit more information if you'd like to know more. If you'd like to get hold of a copy of the slideshow today, if you like the quality of the slides and you thought they were fun, then great. There's two paths to moving forwards essentially here. There is the slow path and there is the fast path. Now I want to help you be on the fast path. So if you want to find out more about me, about presenting with influence, about getting a copy of the slideshow presentation, anything like that, you can email me, john@presentinfluence.com, john@presentinfluence.com. And I will encourage you as well to please check out my free podcast, which has lots of great interviews and information about presentation and influence skills. And you can check that out in Spotify, iTunes, and all podcast locations. It's called the Loki Podcast. That's LOQUI. The Loki Podcast. It's absolutely free, and it's lots of great information and resources for you, and more to come as well. This week will be an interview with a lady who is a professional presenter and TV presenter in the US, who's going to be sharing some of her insights into online presenting as well. So I think you'll enjoy that too. Thank you to Global Business Owners. It's a network that I'm very proud to be a part of, and I absolutely love being the president of the club here in Valencia. Lots of activity going on with us online at the moment, and really lots of new opportunities to connect in new and different ways. If you're interested in Global Business Owners, please do come and check us out, and check out where your nearest local chapter will be. We'd love to have you check out the network and find out if you'd like to be a part of our network as well, if you're not already. If you are, I hope you're enjoying it. And if we're not already connected in the network, please do come and check me out in the Global Business Owners app. So that's it, folks. Thank you for joining us today. I hope it's been some value for you, and I will look forward to hopefully connecting with you in the future and another time. And all it leaves for me to say is stay sane, stay safe, stay healthy during everything that's going on. And I look forward to connecting with you in person at some point very soon.